The Historical Society of Ottawa acknowledges that as we share these stories from our past, we are on what remains the unceded land of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. This series is a collaboration between the Historical Society of Ottawa and Rogers TV. I'm Ben Weiss. I'm with the Historical Society of Ottawa, where we've been telling Ottawa's great story since 1898. If you find Ottawa history as fascinating as we do, I urge you to check out our website, our monthly speaker series, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And enjoy today's segment.
Hi everybody, my name is Paul Weber. I'm a local singer, songwriter, guitar player, occasional amateur video maker, and I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the songs I write and the videos that I make. Often they've ended up being historical videos. In fact, the last few years, and I've been kicking around Ottawa for a while, but the last few years as a performer, I've been writing songs that are kind of historical, and I want to focus on those today and tell you a bit about them. People often ask, how did you get into the history stuff? And I've always been into it, but what really kind of got me going was one book in particular by a fellow named Terence Curry called The Ottawa Valley's Great Fire of 1870. A great story about a fire that no one knows anything about, that I knew nothing about. And when I read the book, I was completely blown away by the story of this fire that had started out near Almont, burned all the way to Ottawa, crossed the river, burned its way up to Wakefield. And somehow this song came out of reading that book. And the song then turned into a video. And we're going to show you today that video. It's called The Great Fire of 1870. And it sort of tells a personal story of what it would have been like to live through that fire in 1870 in the Ottawa Valley. Here it is.
I was playing in the gully with my little sister Mary when we heard church bells ringing on the summer breeze. Then my daddy came a-running. He said, son, there's a big fire coming. Then he put his hands on my shoulders and he said to me, you take yourselves down to the river, and in its water you hide, and I pray it will deliver you from the great fire. So take your sister to landing, let there be an understanding. There's no time for explanations or goodbyes. I'm a-going back to the house now. I'll get some food and I'll grab the old sow. And as I turned to run, I said one last time, you take yourselves down to the river, and in its water you hide, and I pray it will deliver you from the great fire. I heard it was 10 miles wide, was nothing gonna stop it, and the winds blew high. I couldn't know what I run it with my father's words ringing in my ears as we ran down to the river with the fire on our heels. The great fire took my father, he never made it to the water, and I still see him running through the And every Sunday morning, near the place where he was born, we kneel down in the burnt lands and hear him say, you take yourselves down to the river, and in its water you hide, and I pray it will deliver you from the great fire. Take yourselves down to the river, and in its water you hide, and I pray it will deliver you from the great fire.
If you are interested in learning more about the Great Fire, by the way, I encourage you to read Terence Curry's book. And if you go on YouTube, you will see that I have made a bunch of videos that go into greater detail about the Great Fire of 1870. The next song that I wrote as I started writing historical songs was one about a famous Ottawa Valley bouncer. His name was Jerry Barber. And I wrote that song. I wanted to tell the story of this guy because I thought it's not just stories from 100 years ago that I want to tell. It's stories from recent, stories that we lived. I myself, in the 70s and the 80s, used to hang out in a club called the Chaudière. This was a very famous club. But to get into that club, you had to get by the bouncer at the door. His name was Jerry Barber, and he was known far and wide as being a super tough guy. So I did write this song about Jerry, and I put it out on the internet. And I got a call one day. I remember Jerry had died in the mid-'80s. And I got a phone call, and a guy said, I want to speak to Paul Weber. I said, who's this? He said, it's Jerry Barber. It's about your video. Oh, Jerry Barber. It's the ghost of Jerry calling me, I guess. Well, it turns out there is a Jerry Barber Jr. He'd seen my video, and thankfully, he liked it. So I ended up making that video, a little documentary about Jerry, a documentary about the Chaudière. Then I got the band together. We played a gig. I said, let's play this song live. We were at the Redbird Live. This next video is the band telling the story of and playing the song of the Ode to Jerry Barber, which is also the name of my most recent CD, Ode to Jerry Barber. Check it out.
Back in the day of the dinosaur, denim and plaid were what we wore. That's me. When the bars closed down in Ontario, all the kids head down the Elmer Road to a place they call the Chaudière, with the best of the bands and the big corporate. And the bouncer at the door was a giant of a man, with a grin on his face and a bat in his hand. Hey, the Jerry Barber, won't you let me in? 'Cause I've been drinking here since I was 16, and I'm here tonight with my new girlfriend. So come on, Jerry Barber, please let us in. Well, I hear there was a biker, he wouldn't shut his trap, and he broke a whiskey bottle on Jerry's back. Jerry, he just chuckled and he let out a roar. Shut the F up, buddy, and he threw him out the door. Hey, the Jerry Barber, won't you let me in? 'Cause I've been drinking here since I was 16, and I'm here tonight with my new girlfriend. So come on, Mr. Barber, please let us in. I hear that the choice rumbled up one night. There were 20 angry bikers spoiling for a fight. They cornered Jerry, got his back to the wall, but Jerry, he just smiled and he ran at them all. Fists started flying, someone smashed through a door. Jerry swung a broom like it was a claymore. He took a swing at the leader and he knocked him down cold. Then he chased the biker asses down the Elmer Road. Take it away, brother Trevor. So I was feeling nervous with my fake ID, stumbling up the stairs trying to look 18. But Jerry, he just nodded and he turned to me and said, "Get your ass in there, punk, or you'll miss the second set. Hey, the Jerry Bible, won't you let me in? 'Cause I've been drinking here since I was 16. And I'm here tonight with my new girlfriend. So come on, Jerry Barber, please let us in. Come on, Mr. Barber. Hey, Jerry Barber, won't you let me in? 'Cause I've been drinking here since I was 16. And I'm here tonight with my new girlfriend. So thank you, Mr. Barber, for letting us in. And we'll never see the likes of you again. No, we won't. Take it away, brother. Yeah. Trevor Lubin on the dobro.
So that was the Ode to Jerry Barber, a song that I always love playing, always get people coming up after telling me their stories, and there's no end of those. Those are the first two songs I wrote, but something happened to me during COVID, like probably a lot of people. I didn't have a lot to do, so I started walking around and filming things that looked interesting to me. And suddenly I thought, I've got this footage of various places in Ottawa that are kind of historical. Why don't I make like little videos about each of them? So I ended up making this whole series of videos called the Ottawa Walks, which are on YouTube and on Facebook. You can find me on YouTube if you just look up Paul Weber Ottawa. And one of the first videos that I made was one about a little place called Cummings Island, where if you're going down on the bridge between Sandy Hill and Vanier, and you're heading east and you look to your right, there's this little island that you see, and I always wondered, what's the story of that island? You know, maybe something went on there, maybe it's an interesting place. And I got a friend of mine who owns a canoe, and I said, let's go out to the island, I want to film things. So I was really surprised to learn about that island and its past. This next little video tells you some of the secrets of Cummings Island. Have you ever been stuck in a bus on that bridge between Rideau Street and Montreal Road and looked out the window towards the south at that little island in the Rideau River and wondered what was there? Well, today you're going to find out. In the fall of 2021, accompanied by my friend and trusty guide Richard Guy Briggs, I paddled out to Cummings Island to explore its secrets. The island's initial namesake, Charles Cummings, first settled the area in 1840 and built a cabin for his family on the island. For a few years he operated a ferry service carrying passengers across the river. In 1864, his son Robert built a store on the island, a post office, a flour mill, and a carriage factory. Bridges were built connecting the island to Ottawa and what is today Vanier. And for many years, the island was a thriving hub of business. As we approach the island, you can see the abutments that once supported the bridges that connected both sides of the island to the surrounding communities. At the front of the island, there is an ice break wall. After landing, we wandered around the tiny little island looking for remnants of the once thriving commercial center. In several spots, you can still see bits of the foundation of the old store and warehouse. But other than that, there's not a lot left here but a lot of scraggly wood and the ruins of a few old bridges. In 1921, the city of Ottawa built a new bridge 12 meters downstream from the island, called Cummings Bridge. A year later, the city bought the island and its buildings from the Cummings family and demolished the store. So, the next time you're in the area, have a look out at the island and imagine what was once there. If you like this video and would like to see more of the same, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Alrighty, so from Cummings Island, we're going to go to another waterway, this time the Rideau Canal. I live near the Rideau Canal, and I often, walk along it and enjoy how pretty it is and everything. You don't necessarily think of its past and its story. All, of course, on unceded Algonquin land, I always like to mention, as many of my songs do occur on unceded territory. That is our past. The Rideau Canal in particular, which stretches all the way from Ottawa to Kingston, has a fascinating story of its construction. I believe they started work in 1826, and in the early days of building that canal, they had to camp out sometimes at night in difficult conditions in the winter. I remember hearing that it took 2 days to get from where the Chateau Laurier is to Dow's Lake, because it was all swamp. Ottawa was all swamp. Anyway, my interest in that turned into a song, which is on my Ode to Jerry Barber album, and I wrote a song called 3 Years on the Rideau Canal, loosely based on the writings of one John McTaggart, who wrote about, he was an engineer working with Colonel John By, who built the Rideau Canal, and he wrote what it was like to be out there surveying the canal, and I thought, this is a great story. So I turned it into a song and then made a video of it, and we're going to watch the video now, called 3 Years on the Rideau Canal.
Well, I set sail for Canada in 1826. I left my bonny Scottish homeland and across the Atlantic. From Quebec to Ontario, then up the Outaouais I go to survey for Colonel John By and build the Rideau Canal. Yeah, we set out with a native guide. We were a party of 10 men. We were English, Irish, French, and Scot, and American. Well, we climbed our way from Entrance Bay, crawling through the mud and clay, and we fought every inch of the way to build the Rideau Canal. Another mile, with 125 to go. Another mile, till we see Lake Ontario. For days we struggled onwards through endless cold dark swamps, through mosquito plains and driving rain. We worked until we dropped. At night we'd huddle back to back, our hair frozen in our tracks. The next day we reached the Hog's Back, and onward we'd go. Another mile, with 125 to go. Another mile, till we see Lake Ontario. 1,000 men would die here, 1,000 men would fall, and their bodies lie in abandoned graves all along the canal, all along the canal. So when you're passing by us, know the tears and toil that lie below. Remember those that went before to build your Rideau Canal. Another mile, with 125 to go. Another mile, to we see Lake Ontario. Another mile, another mile, another mile, another mile. Yeah.
Alrighty, so I live in Old Ottawa East, and I walk around that neighborhood a lot. Particularly during COVID, I did that a lot. And one of the things I discovered was this little plaque on the power station on Riverdale dedicated to the first men who flew planes to Ottawa. In fact, they landed some of their planes in that area near where I live. One fellow in particular fascinated me. And we're talking around 1912 here. His name was Cecil Paoli. As a very young fellow, he was flying these planes. And he had to, at one point, take off from what was then a cattle field near where I live in Old Ottawa East and fly around the city and land at Lansdowne Park. And I wrote this song for him. His name was Cecil Paoli. This one's for you, Cecil, if you're still around somewhere. Well, Cecil Paoli was only a boy when he built his first plane and knew it was a toy. He knew it would fly like a bird set free. And he told everyone someday that's gonna be me. At 17 he was an aeronaut, flying Baldwin's biplane, the youngest pilot. He toured the world over to applause and hoorays, hip, hip, hooray. And when they asked him for some words, this is what he would say. Well, hold on to your dreams, 'cause if they die, you'll be stuck down on the ground, unable to fly. So hold on to your dreams. At 19 he was Ottawa bound, Central Canada X, the city's fairground, for a thrilling, chilling, daredevil show. Down at the stadium, where was the boy hero? He was across the canal in Slattery's field. Cecil could hear the stadium cheers. He tested the wind, it felt just right, so he waved at the crowd and then he took flight. Ba-ba-da-dun-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-ba-da-dun-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, Cecil Paoli was only a boy when he built his first plane, and no, it was a toy. He knew it would fly like a bird set free. And he told everyone someday that's gonna be me. So hold on to your dreams, 'cause if they die, you'll be stuck down on the ground, unable to fly. So hold on to your dream. Yeah, hold on to your dream. Hold on to your dreams. Cecil Paoli. So, in addition to writing that song about Cecil, I did make a short little video about that plaque that I was telling you about earlier. In the Old Ottawa East, you can check it out on the power station on Riverdale. So have a look at this video and learn a bit more about the first aeronauts to Ottawa. I was out walking today in my neighborhood near a power station that we have at Riverdale in Main Street. This power station is where there was once a cow pasture called Slattery's Field, which is the site of two of Canada's most historic aviation events. In fact, in September 1911, pilot Lee Hammond flew his biplane and performed for crowds as part of the Central Canada exhibition, both taking off and landing from Slattery's Field. And later on, in October 1913, pilot William Robinson, after taking off from Montreal, landed his biplane in Slattery's Field. There's a plaque on the side of the building from the Canadian Aviation Historical Society that notes that both pilots had to contend with cows and horses which shared the crude airfield. So the next time you're in this area, remember where the first airplanes landed in Ottawa.
Those magnificent men in their flying machines, they go up to the up, they go down to the down.
So, those are some of my tunes and some of my videos about Ottawa and its history. If you want to learn more, and if you want to check out my Ottawa walks, where I meander through Ottawa and find all kinds of interesting things, you can check out my website at paulweber.ca. I encourage you to also learn about the Ottawa Historical Society that does some great work teaching people about Ottawa and its past. Go exploring. You never know what you'll find when you go looking.